Hello all, welcome to Autobot YouTube channel. Today we are going to cover the top 20 UiPath Orchestrator interview questions. So all these 20 questions we are going to cover with a practical demo. So it will make you capable of understanding all the concepts and the features of Orchestrator. And in case if you're attending an interview and if the interviewer is asking you to do some practical demo on this particular functionality in Orchestrator, this video will make you capable of solving that issue. Okay, so let's start the session. What is storage bucket in Orchestrator? Storage buckets provide a per folder storage solution for RP developers to leverage in creating automation projects. As storage buckets are created within the scope of a given folder, this enables you to use the fine-grained permissions and role-assigned model of the folder feature to control access to the storage buckets and their contents only to those users or robots that need it. Users with the required permission can browse the content of any configured storage bucket and upload or download file as required. Storage bucket can be configured using any of the following providers: using Orchestrator, Azure Storage, Amazon S3, MinIO, S3 compatible storage solutions, or file system. So let me show you where you can find this storage bucket in the Orchestrator, and hope this comment is clear about this storage bucket. So storage bucket is nothing but it's a storage space which is available in the Orchestrator, or you can configure it in any of this storage bucket which I have listed down. Okay, so you can create a storage bucket and you can upload your files. Okay, suppose if you want to keep some secure file not in any of your system but it in some cloud storage, means you can upload that to the storage bucket. Okay, so to which all users that you're going to provide the permission, only those users can use that particular files, okay, which you are uploading. Okay, so they can download or they can use it, or even they can configure that with a robot. Okay, and one of the main benefit is like this storage bucket is under the scope of a folder. Okay, so those users who is having the access only to that particular folder can access those files. So let me show you where you can find it. For that you have to go to Orchestrator. Okay, okay, suppose if I'm going to demo environment, you can go to storage bucket tab. Okay, and as I mentioned, this is not in the tenant level. Okay, that is under the folder level. Okay, so you have to go to the folder, go to storage bucket, and here you can see add storage bucket. Okay, so here I have already configured or created a storage bucket and I have uploaded one file to this. So if you want to create a new one, what you can do is click on add storage bucket, create a new storage bucket. Okay, and here it will ask you three criteria, like in which service that you want to opt for creating the storage bucket. Okay, suppose if it is UiPath Orchestrator, you can give a name and just give a description and what kind of access that you want to give, whether it's a read only or audit read access permission. Okay, and if you want to give storage bucket area in Azure Storage or Amazon S3, just click on that. But you have to give the name, like what is the container name of the Azure Storage and what is the endpoint suffix. Okay, and account name details and all you will have to provide over here. Okay, so for that you should have the access to Amazon S3 or with Azure Storage. But if you want to just proceed with the orchestrator, that is a default one which is available in UiPath. So if you just want to proceed with orchestrator, you can go with the orchestrator. That is a default storage bucket. Okay, so hope that point is clear. And once it is done, and if you want to upload the file, what you can do is just click on this upload new file, and it will get upload like this. Okay, input.txt. So which all users is having access to this particular bucket, that is my default. Only those particular users can use this file which I have uploaded. Okay, So let's move on to the next question. What is queues in Orchestrator? A queue is a list of items that you want to be processed by robots. When you create a queue in Orchestrator, it is empty. To populate the queue with items, change their status and process them, you have to use activities from Studio. Okay. So the queues page enables you to create queues, view information about queue item, such as average execution time and total number of transactions, display chart with the transaction status or progress over time. Okay, so a queue is nothing but, like, suppose if you want to process 100 items within some 15 minutes. Okay, and if you can't do that with single robot, what you can do? You can upload all those transactions to the orchestrator virtual queue. Okay, from there, if you are configuring the robots in multiple systems, okay, suppose if you have some 5 robots configured in 5 machines, you can assign these queue items to these 5 robots, and these 5 robots will dynamically get the transaction from queues and they will progress that. Okay, instead of proceeding with one robot from your system, you can directly upload the items to the queue, and which all robots are connected to this orchestrator and that is having access to that particular folder or to the queue, those robots can work on this particular queue item. Okay, so it will give you a faster workaround for resolving your transaction. So it is a list of items that you want to be processed by the robot. Okay, and for uploading the queue items from your system to the orchestrator or to the queue, what you have to do? You have to use the activities that is available in the studio. Okay, so I'll be showing you how you can use the activities to upload the transitions to the queue in the another question. Okay, and you can create a queue inside the queue page. So let me go to the orchestrator. What you have to do is go to the folder. Okay, so this also comes under the scope of a folder. So just go to the demo environment or to any folder that you have created, go to queues. Okay, here it will ask for, here you can see a button. Okay, add queue, click on that, create a new queue. Okay, so here what they will ask is you have to give the name and the description, and if there is any unique reference ID that you want to keep, that you can give. And if you want to retry some items, like if it get failed or something, and if you want to retry that, you can just set the maximum number of retries for that particular transaction. Okay, and here you can see the schema definition, like is there any specific data JSON schema that you want to define, or any output data JSON schema that you want to set. So all those things that you can set it out over here. Okay, and if you want to set some prediction, like some SLA prediction for this queue, that also you can set by clicking on this button. So this feature I will clarify you in another question. Okay, so hope this is clear. So here you just need to create the queue with this name and other details, and so these are the mandatory details. Okay, so the name of the queue is a mandatory detail and others are optional. Okay, so once you create a transaction with or the queue with a queue name, you can use that queue name within your orchestrator or within the UiPath activities. Okay, to upload data to this queue. So once it is done, you can see a queue like this, and if you want to find the transaction items, what you can do is just click over here and you can click on view transaction. Okay, so it will list down all the items that you have uploaded to the queue. Okay, so that's it, and I will show you how you can upload the items to this queue in another video. Okay, and here you can get the description, like what is the current status, like whether it is in progress and how many are remaining transaction inside this queue, and what is the successful rate, like that different things that you can view it for each queue item. Okay, so hope that point is clear. So let's move on to next question. Explain process, job and trigger in UiPath. Actually, in one of the video that I have uploaded, there is a second video in this UiPath playlist. I have clearly mentioned like how you can configure robots to orchestrator and how you can create this process, job and trigger in UiPath. Okay, So if you haven't watched that video, please do watch that video, because it will give you a clear understanding of the orchestrator and the features, and to configure that with the robot. So a process is nothing but a process represents a package version linked to a particular folder. When you deploy a new process, it becomes available for all accounts that have access to that folder. Okay. Job. A job represents the execution of a process on a UiPath robot. You can launch the execution of a job in either unattended or attended mode. You cannot launch a job from Orchestrator on attended robots unless for debugging or development process. So here a process is nothing but, like, suppose if you create some project in your UiPath Studio, right? And if you want to deploy that to the Orchestrator, what you can do? You can publish that from UiPath Studio to Orchestrator, correct? And if you want to available that to different folders, what you have to do? You have to create a process. Okay, so once you're creating a process, it will ask you the package name that you want to choose. Okay, so that's why you can use the process. A job is nothing but it represents the execution of a process on a UiPath robot. Like if you want to execute that process with a robot, what you have to create a job for that. Okay, so here you can see you cannot launch a job from Orchestrator on attended robots. Okay, so only if a job is created on attended, then only you can launch it from the Orchestrator premises. But if you want to do that for a debugging or development purpose, you can do that for attended robot also. What is triggers? It enables you to execute jobs in a pre-planned manner at a regular interval, or whenever new items are added to your queues. The trigger page enable you to create new trigger, manage existing one, as well as instantly launch a job for any existing trigger. So this is nothing but, like, if you create a job and if you're thinking, okay, I need to execute this on every 11 a.m. On a daily basis or on weekly basis. Okay, and how you can configure that? For that, you can create a trigger, and you can create the triggers in two ways. Okay, so all those steps I am going to cover in another video. And if you want to understand more about this process, job and trigger, just watch the second video inside this UiPath playlist. Okay, so the different steps for creating the triggers I will be mentioning in another question. Okay, so let's move on. How to get the global logs from the orchestrator? For that, what you have to do is go to the folder, the respective folder which you want to get the global logs. Go to that, then go to automation, then go to logs, then export it. Okay, so suppose if I want to get the logs for this particular demo environment, what I need to do is I need to click on that. I need to go to automation, and here you will get the logs. Okay, so just click on that log, and if you want to get the logs based on some process or something, just search with that name, and you just need to click on this export button. Okay, so if I click on export, here you can see a file is getting downloaded, global logs.csv file. Okay, so it will be having the status of all the jobs that is executing inside this particular folder. Okay, what time it got executed, and what is the process name, and to which host it is executed, and host identity and other details you can see it over here, like whether the process started and ended and all. Okay, so that's it. That's the global log. Okay, so that is again under the scope of a folder. So go to demo environment or the folder, go to automation, go to logs and export it. Okay, so in the interviews they may be asking questions like if you have multiple process that is running in your folder, and how you can get the logs. So tell them, okay, you can go to automation and get the logs, and you can export the logs to your local machine. How to stop a job if it exceeds the scheduled time? Okay, for that what you have to do is so in the previous question I mentioned you like what is process, job and trigger, right? So if you want to create a job, what you have to do? You need to go to jobs. Okay, and here you can see already a job is running, right? That is a demo process. Or if you want to create a new job, what you can do? Click on start, and you need to choose the process to which you want to create the job. Okay, suppose if I am selecting demo 1 as the process. Okay, and here what's the question, how to stop a job if it exceeds the scheduled time, right? So here there is an option like schedule ending of a job execution. So what you can do, just choose that particular button, and here it will ask you whether you want to stop or kill. Okay, so if you are choosing kill, means automatically the function or the feature that is available below to this will get a hide. Okay, but if you're choosing stop, you can give the stop timing for this particular job. Okay, so if you give it like okay, 1 hour, means after that it will get a stop. Okay, and in case if your job is not getting stop after this time, what you can do, you can set an interval for the kill also. Okay, so it will forcefully stop the execution. For that you can give the killing time as well. So this is how you can stop the job if it is exceeding the time. Okay, so while creating the job, enable schedule ending of a job execution, select either stop or kill, and provide the desired timing to stop the job. Okay, so there can be questions you can face while you are attending an interview. So the interviewer may ask you some questions. Okay, like if you schedule one job at 9 o'clock, and if you want to stop that job, okay, not to exceed to 10 a.m., what you can do, while creating the job itself, you have to enable these settings. Okay, enable the stopping as well as the killing of the jobs. So let's move on. How to start a job when new items are added to a queue. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, like while creating the job, or creating the job is nothing but like how you can execute the process, right? And if you want to create the job, what you have to do, you have to create a trigger, right? So while creating the trigger, it will ask you two questions. Okay, how you want to create a trigger. Okay, so whether it is based on the time or whether it is based on the queue. So what is the question, how to start a job when new items are added to a queue. Okay, for that what you have to do, you have to go with the queue method. Okay, so what is queue method? Start a job when new items are added to a queue. So let me show you the answer. Go to folder, automations, triggers, add a new trigger, queue, start a job when new items are added to a queue, select the queue and process details. Okay, so hope that is clear to you. And here if you select queue, it will ask for the name of the trigger, and you can choose to which process that you want to enable this feature, and select the queue item. Okay, so if you select that, whenever if a new item is getting added to this queue, the trigger will get start. Okay, and you can choose the time range as well, and you can choose whether if you want to set any non-working day calendar. And the same setting that we have seen in the job, like a schedule ending of the job execution and disable trigger at here. One more thing is that is disable trigger at this particular point. And once all these things are provided, just click on add. Okay, so your trigger will get created. So that's why you can start a job when new items are added to a queue. So what are the different ways of creating triggers in UiPath? So just now I have shown you like how you can create a trigger based on the queue, right? So same like that in UiPath, you can create triggers in two ways. Okay, so one is either using the time method or using the queue method. So time is nothing but like if you want to schedule a job at a particular time, like if I want to schedule some job at 11 o'clock, I can go with the time method. Okay, so here you can give the name of your trigger, and you can choose the particular process that you want to execute, and the job priority also you can choose, and what is the runtime license that you can choose, and what is the time zone, to which time zone that you want to execute this particular process or particular job, and what is the scheduling criteria, like whether it is like a minute, hour, or whatever it is, you can choose that. Okay, and if you want to create a cron based scheduling, what you can do, you can go for advanced and you can write the cron expression over here. Okay, so this is totally customizable, so based on your wish you can give the cron expression and your trigger will execute at that particular moment. Okay, And another method is queue method. Just I mentioned you that, like whenever a new queue item is get added to your queue, and if you want to execute a job, you can go for a queue method. Okay, so these are the two methods that is available for creating the triggers in UiPath. So let's move on. If you don't want to execute a trigger on holiday, what you can do? For that, create a new holiday calendar from the tenant setting and choose non-working days restrictions while creating the trigger. Okay, so we have seen, like while creating the trigger, it is asking to choose a non-working days restrictions. Okay, so this is nothing but like on weekends and all, or suppose if there is some holiday that is coming up, some new year. Okay, in new year your organization is on leave and you don't want to execute the process that you are usually executing. Okay, what you can do, you can create a non-working days restriction calendar, and you can choose that while creating the trigger. Okay, so if you do that, your process or your job won't execute on that particular holidays that you have configured in this calendar. Okay, so this is a very good feature, because if you are going for some automation related to this stocks and all, like on holidays as well as on weekends like Saturday and Sunday, these stocks won't work, right? And if you don't want to execute some jobs related to that, what you can do, you can set up this calendar, and your trigger won't execute on this particular holidays that you are configuring in the non-working day calendar. Let's move on to the next question. How to create non-working day calendar and how to enable it in trigger. Okay, for that what you have to do, you need to go to tenant settings, non-working days, and create a new calendar. Okay, so let me show you how you can do that. For that you have to go for the scope of the tenant. Okay, so go to tenant, you need to go to settings. Okay, so once you go to settings, you can see a tab called non-working days, so click on that. Okay, and here you have to create a new calendar. Okay, so if you click on this plus button, it will ask you the name of the calendar, and you need to choose the dates. Okay, suppose if I want to choose all these dates, means just select all these dates, give a proper naming. Okay, just give a name for the calendar and just save it. Okay, so if you save it, you can see this calendar while creating the trigger. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is, I have already created a calendar. Okay, the calendar name is my calendar, and if you want to include this in your triggers, what you can do, just go to the folder where you want to create the trigger automation, go to triggers, add a new trigger. Okay, I'm going to name it like my trigger. You need to choose the process and all. I'm going to choose app demo, then priority you can choose, then the time zone also you can choose, and here you can see a non-working days restriction is there. Just click on that and choose the calendar. Okay, so if you did that, which all days that you have mentioned in this calendar, on those days your job or your trigger will not get executed. Okay, so hope that point is clear, because you just understand this concept, because this is very much useful while you're creating for a daily execution of your triggers, or if you're going to schedule something in your process. Let's move on to the next question. What is asset in Orchestrator and how you can use it? Asset usually represent shared variable or credential that can be used in different automation projects. Okay, they allow you to store specific information so that the robots can easily access it. Additionally, an extra level of security is provided, as all credentials stored here are encrypted with AES 256 algorithm. They can be invoked by RPA developers when designing a process, but their values can be hidden from them. Okay, so asset is nothing but, like, suppose if you want to store some variable. Okay, instead of storing it in your process or in any other file, what you can do, you can go to Orchestrator and you can create an asset. Okay, so whenever if your robot want to access something from the asset, you can use the activities that's available in UiPath Studio to access your orchestrator asset and get the values in your workflow. Okay, so that is the purpose of asset. So you can create an asset only once and you can use that for different process which you are publishing to your orchestrator. Okay, so let me show you what is asset and how you can use that. Okay, for that what you have to do is go to the folder to which that you want to create the asset. Click on assets. Okay, here you can see a button. Okay, add asset. Click on that. Create a new asset. Okay, you have to give the asset name. Okay, whatever the name that you want to give for the asset name, you have to give it, and this asset name you have to use it in your UiPath workflow. Okay, so using the UiPath activity, you are going to refer to this particular asset name, so you have to give it in a proper way. Then what type of asset that you're going to create, whether it is a test value or whether it's a boolean value, whether it is an integer, you can choose that. And if it's a credential, what it will do, it will ask you to provide a username and the password. Okay, so you don't need to hard code any values in your workflow. If you just provide this asset name, it will give you or it will get you the username and the secure password from the orchestrator as you have created this asset as a credential in your orchestrator. Okay, and if you want to set any robot asset value, that also you can set here, like for any particular robot that you want to set any value, that also you can set it over here. So that's the purpose of this asset. And if you just want to create something like a test or something, you just need to give that name, like what is the value for this particular asset. Like suppose if I'm telling like okay, my name. Okay, and if I want to use the name in different positions as per my workflow, what you can do, you can just refer to this asset name. Okay, you can just refer this asset name using the UiPath activity, and you can use this value anywhere in your workflow. Okay, so I hope that that is clear. What are the different methods of adding machines to orchestrator? Okay, so there are different methods of adding or configuring machines to the orchestrator. So let's see what are those. So first one is a standard machine. So should be used when the name of the machine on which you want to define robots remain the same each time you connect to. You define the machine name and then can connect to any number of robots in the robot page. A robot in this scenario connects to orchestrator using the machine name, machine key, username combination. This is nothing but like if I have a laptop, okay, and I'm going to use the same laptop on a daily basis, what I can do, I can go for the standard machine. Okay, but in case in the future or on the next day, if I'm going to use another machine, okay, on a daily basis I'm going to use different machine for the working means, I cannot go with the standard machine. Okay, because here the configuration is happening based on the machine name and machine key and username combination. Okay, so it will not work if you are randomly changing your machine. Okay, so what's the next method and how you can resolve when you are this issue, like when you are switching to different machines on a daily basis? You can go with a machine template. So should be used when the name of the machine on which you want to define robot changes every time. Okay, so if the name of the machine is going to change, or if you're going to use different machines on a daily basis, what you can do, you can go for the machine template. As in the case of non-persistent VDAs, like if you are going to use different VDAs on a daily basis, in those situations and all, you can go for this machine template. You define this entity once and then connect to any number of attended floating robots using a unique Active Directory username. A robot in this scenario connects to orchestrator only using the machine key and username combination. Okay, in standard machine we have seen like we are going to use machine name, machine key and username combination, right? But if you're going for machine template, what we are going to do, we are just using the machine key and the username combination. Okay, we are not going to use the machine name for this machine template configuration. So whenever if you are switching to some different machines, it will not impact your working. Okay, so let's move on. What is Elastic Robot Pool? So Elastic Robot Orchestration provides a way to automatically scale your unattended robots by allowing UiPath to scale and manage your robots for you. Okay, so suppose if you want to extend your robots, okay, suppose in future if you want to do some or if you want to get some 5 more robots for your execution, what you can do, you can go with the Elastic Robot Pool. Okay, so here the benefit is like UiPath will help you to scale and manage your robots. Okay, uh, we may manage them on your behalf, but they are still in your cloud, and you can choose how much of the robot orchestration process you want to delegate to us. Okay, so it's like suppose if your robots are going to run in any of the cloud services like Azure, AWS or something, you have to configure that with the template. And whenever if you're going to add something, okay, so robot will help you. UiPath will help you to scale your robot pool. So that is a benefit of Elastic Robot Pool, and still all these things are running in your cloud only. Okay, we manage them on your behalf, but they are still in your cloud. Okay, so still the robots are going to run in your cloud premises only, but the managing or the expansion of the robot pool can be done by the UiPath. So where you can find this thing is like if you go to machines, okay, so you have to go to tenant, go to machine, and while adding a new machine, you can choose you can see all this template. Okay, machine template, standard machine, and Elastic Robot Pool. So you can choose the template based on your working environment and how you are going to use these robots on a daily basis. So that's it. What's the difference between robot and machine? A robot. The UiPath robot is execution host that runs process built in UiPath Studio. In Orchestrator, a robot entity represents an image of UiPath robot and controls its capability. Okay, so a robot is nothing but it's an entity which help you to execute your workflow. Okay, suppose if you are creating something in your UiPath Studio, and if you want to execute that particular workflow, what you have to do, robot will help you to do that. Okay, and in Orchestrator also, like suppose if you are creating a job or trigger, and if you want to execute that, how you can execute that can be done by only the robot. Okay, so once you configure the machines to Orchestrator, this robot should get installed in that particular machine. Okay, then only you can execute that process. What is machine? A machine represents a physical or virtual machine on which UiPath robot is installed. In Orchestrator, there are two machine entities that work as a API key generator, which authorize the connection between UiPath robot and Orchestrator. So this is nothing but like while if you are installing the robot in your machine, okay, what you have to do, you have to configure your machine to Orchestrator to uh, run the jobs or triggers from your Orchestrator, right? So you have to go to the machine template and you need to give all the details of your machine. Okay, suppose if I want to run something in my laptop by connecting to my Orchestrator, what I have to do, I need to give the details of my system like machine name or whatever it is. I need to give that to Orchestrator while creating the machine Orchestrator, right? So once it is done, it will give you one API key. That API key you have to go to your system and you need to add that machine key in the assistant, UiPath assistant. Then only that configuration will work. Then only you can use the robot to execute the trigger or job which is configured in the Orchestrator. Okay, so just now I showed you like how you can create the machine. So once you done that, it will give you a machine key. Okay, and paste it in the UiPath assistant for doing the configuration. And here you can see the robot tab. So inside that you can find which all robots that has connected to your Orchestrator. Okay, so that's it. So let's move on. What's the difference between floating robot and a standard robot? Floating robots. Robots that enable user to use UiPath robot on multiple workstations as the robot is not tied to a specific machine. Okay. All robots in modern folder are floating robots with one named user license. One user can use UiPath robot on maximum of 3 machines at a time. So this is nothing but like just now I mentioned you regarding the machines, right? So if the user is going to change on a daily basis, or if the user is going to use different machines on a daily basis, he cannot go with the machine name of that system, right? While doing the configuration with the orchestrator. So what he has to do, he just need to do with the machine key and the username, correct? Okay, so in the modern folder architecture of UiPath, it is recommending to use this kind of configuration. Okay, so here the benefit is like a robot is not tied to any particular machine. Okay, so if you want to use the robot to work on different machines, okay, you can do that. Okay, but a maximum of 3 robots or the 3 machines that you can use to run these robots. Okay, so with one named user license, one user can use UiPath robot on a maximum of 3 machines at a time. Okay, so that is the benefit of this. Another thing is like a standard robot. These are the predecessors of floating robot, and you can only find them when working with the classic folders. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this classic folder and modern folder concept. If you are not clear, just go to a playlist and check the video. Like I have already done a video for this interview questions, like top 25 questions. Just go to that. In that, I have mentioned about this modern and classic folder. So a standard robot restricts the user to use UiPath robot on a single workstation. Okay. So in this standard robot, we will have to provide or we have to link the machine name with the robot configuration. Okay. So at that time, it's only stick to one single machine. Okay. You cannot use a robot on different machine. Okay. So it will just stop the proper using of the of your robots, right? Like in one machine, if you just want to execute one task, okay, only for 1 hour, and another task that you want to execute in another machine, what you have to do, you'll have to configure 2 robots in 2 different machines, right? Okay, so in that case it will give you more licensing cost, and it will not give you the proper utilization of your robots. Okay, so here, because of that, UiPath has implemented this floating robot. Okay, so if you want to do one task in one machine at 11 o'clock and in another machine at 1 o'clock, what you can do? You can use the same robots using the floating robot configuration. Okay, this is namely the one set when creating the standard robot in Orchestrator. Standard robot work only for users who always work on the same machine or whose name stays the same each time the user connects to it. Okay, so hope this concept is clear. So as per UiPath, it is recommending now to use the floating robot to get maximum efficiency of your robots. Okay, what is credential store in UiPath Orchestrator? A credential store is a named location within a secure store such as CyberArk from which you can retrieve robot credentials and credential assets when needed. Okay, Orchestrator supports the use of multiple credential store at tenant level, provide built-in support for Azure Key Vault, CyberArk, PCP, CyberArk, and the architecture enabling you to develop a plugin for other secure stores. Okay, so this is nothing but in Orchestrator. Um, Here you can see a credential store. Okay, so this is nothing but if you go here, it will ask you to create a credential. Okay, so what I can do, I can click on add credential store. I can choose which method of storing. Okay, so by default it will be like Orchestrator database, but if you want to go with Azure Key Vault or CyberArk, you can choose that. Okay, but you should be have the license to that particular vault. Okay, and if you're directly going with database, it will ask you uh, to select that one and you can just create it. Okay, So by default, it will create you a orchestrator database. So here you can see orchestrator database. So whenever if you are creating an asset, or whenever if you are creating a credential in asset, it will get stored to that database. Okay, but as per your policy in your if your client is asking, okay, if you want to store your all this data or the credentials inside this particular storage space in Azure or with CyberArk, what you can do, you can configure your vault to the UiPath Orchestrator, and you can use the credentials over there. Okay, so once that is done, you can see that particular vault over here, credential vault over here. So that's the benefit of a credential store in UiPath. What is the purpose of inherited priority while creating triggers? Okay, so the default value is inherited, meaning that the job priority is the same as the one defined for the selected process. Okay, so this is nothing but like while you creating the job, you may have seen a tab called job priority, right? Okay, for the job, it will give you the high priority like high, normal, and low. Okay, suppose if I'm going to choose high, okay, while creating the job, okay, and inside the trigger, if I'm going to create a new trigger for that particular job, okay, here also we need to choose a job priority. Okay, so inside this trigger you can see one more job priority, that is inherited. So this is nothing but like if you choose inherited, whatever the priority that you set for your job, it will get inherit to this trigger also. Okay, but here if you're choosing like low, it means in the job I have choose like the priority as high, but here if I make it to low, means it will take this in the priority list. Okay, so that job priority which I have provided like high, and here for this trigger I have selected the priority like low. It means this low will get override on top of to that high priority. Okay, but if you want to just keep the same priority which I mentioned for that job, you can go with the inherited priority. Okay, so that's the benefit of this inherited priority while creating the trigger. What is the difference between add queue item and add transition item? So add queue item adds a new item in the queue. The status of the item will be new. Okay, so if you want to add something to your UiPath Studio or to your system to the orchestrator queue, what you can do, you can go with add queue item, but the status of the newly added item will be in a new status. Okay, but what is the add transition item? Adds a new item in the queue and start a transition. The status of the item will be set to in progress. Okay, returns the item as a queue item variable. Okay, so I will tell you the difference between that. So for that, what I'm going to do is, let's go to demo environment, go to queues. Okay, here I already have one queue that I have created, and if I go to transition, I'm not finding any transition over here, right? Because I just created a queue and I haven't uploaded anything to this queue item. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to studio. Okay, here I have created a very sample process. Okay, so which is having this add queue item and add transition item. So what I'm going to do is just to disable this add transition item, and I'm going to enable add queue item. Okay, let me save it. Okay, so here I'm going to use one Excel sheet. Okay, qdemo.xls XLS file. So inside this qdemo, I have created three columns. Okay, one is name, then ID, and employment. So let me go to File Explorer, automation demo, qdemo. Okay. So this particular Excel is having three columns: employee name, employee ID, designation. Okay, so these details I'm going to upload to the orchestrator queue. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to use add a queue item. Okay, let me enable it. Okay, so I hope you are clear about how to create these queues and all. So once you create the queue in the orchestrator, what you have to do, if you're going with add queue item, here it will ask like a sorry. Okay, so once you click on this item information, you have to add the configuration. Okay, so what are the details that you want to add to the queue item? Suppose if you want to add a new row means you can click on this create argument and you need to add the value which you want to upload to the queue. Okay, so here I created these three arguments, that is name, ID and designation, and what's the direction, indirection, and the value which I'm getting from the Excel sheet. Okay, so I'm going to create this value or assign this value to this argument value. Okay, and if you give add queue item, it will create a data table like structure in the queue with these three columns, name, ID and designation. Okay, so I'm just going to execute this flow. Run file, execution started, execution ended. Okay, so let me refresh this. Okay, so here you can see 4 items got added with the status new. Let me go here, view details. Okay, so here you can see the details which I just uploaded from the studio. Okay, so name, ID and designation got added, and here the status of the item is in new status, right? If you're going with add queue item, so let me do the same thing with add transition item. I'm going to execute the flow. Okay, so the execution has entered. Let me go here, refresh it. Okay, here again you can see new items got added to the queue, but the status is in progress. Okay, so the status is in progress and the priority is high. So if you're going with add transition item, it will add the transition to queue with high priority. Okay, so while you are processing, it will get the priority and it will process before going for the normal or with low level priority task. Okay, so this is the benefit of add transition and add queue item. So hope you are clear about this concept, because you will be getting questions related to this add queue item and add transition item. And while working with RP automations, if you are going with an orchestrator concept, you have to understand these two activities clearly. Let's move on. What is webhook in UiPath Orchestrator? Webhook enable you to better integrate your UiPath automation with your entire application ecosystem. You can subscribe to Orchestrator events and send them to any external DCM, BPM or CRM solution and inform different users. For example, that there is a new queue item that can be processed, a trigger has failed or a process has been updated. Webhook allows external system to subscribe and listen to different type of orchestrator events. The webhooks page enable you to easily set them up and view the one that have been previously created. You can also disable webhooks, search for a specific one, edit or delete them. Okay, so in the orchestrator, you go to tenant. Here you can see a tab called webhook. Okay, so I'm just hovering on top to connect orchestrator event to your application. So set webhooks to connect orchestrator event to your application. So this is nothing but like what are the activities that is happening inside this orchestrator. So all these events can be monitored with any of this DCM, BPM or CRM solution by different users. Okay, so it will help you to connect the orchestrator events with the entire application ecosystem of your organization. Okay, so it will help all the users to understand or to track what are the events that is happening inside the orchestrator. Okay, like suppose if a trigger you have configured and if it got failed, if a user is required to understand, okay, this got failed by configuring to one different application which is there in your ecosystem, what you can do, you can do that configuration and in that particular application you can view whether this trigger is failed or passed or what is status of the process. Okay, Also, webhook allows external system to subscribe and listen to different type of orchestrator events. Okay, suppose if you want to integrate that with any of the external plugins, that is also possible along with the webhook feature that is available in UiPath Orchestrator. So that's it. So I'll be doing a detailed video on this webhooks, like how you can configure and how you can use that in your automations. Okay, and if you want to get more information regarding this webhook feature in UiPath, just refer to this document. Okay, so this is the one which is providing by UiPath, so it will give you more clarity on this webhook feature. How to check whether all the queue items are processed within SLA. By enabling the SLA predictions while creating the queue, displays information pertaining to the SLA and risk SLA of all the queues in the current folder with enabled SLA prediction. This helps you access if the newly added queue items can be processed in a timely manner and what resources you need to allocate such that their SLA is not breached. Whenever the SLA is in danger of not being met, you are properly notified such that you can make adjustment accordingly. So this is nothing but like while creating the queue, okay, here you can see one tab, okay, SLA prediction. So if you enable this, it will ask you to select a process. Okay, suppose if I am choosing demo 1, here you can choose what is the SLA for this particular queue items. Okay, so SLA for newly added queue items that don't have a deadline. So if I'm choosing 1 hour or 1 day as a SLA, all this transaction which is there inside this queue should get processed within 1 day, right? And what will happen if one transaction or two transaction is not getting processed? It will make you the business impact, right? So what you can do, like whenever if you're executing this or for 1 week, what you can view all these things in the monitoring page. Okay, so if you enable this, you can view all these things in the monitoring page, and you can understand like out of 100 transactions how many has breached the SLA, and based on that you can configure more robots to properly trigger all your transaction items. And here if you want to set up any risk SLA, that is also possible, and here suggested risk SLA is 75% of a SLA. Okay, so all these features that you can view it in the monitoring page, so it will help you to understand the not the users, like your organization to implement more robots to scale up your automation process, or the different strategies to keep the SLA for the transaction item that is going to upload. Because while you're working with some hundred or thousands of incidents on a daily basis, there will be an SLA for each item, right? So it has to be resolved by maybe within 6 hours or maybe within 1 day. And if some 50% of your incidents are not going to get resolved within 1 day, what will happen? It will go for a client escalation, right? Or it will cause business impact. So in order to save your RPA process or your organization, what you can do, you can enable this and you can monitor for 1 week, and you can understand what is the utilization of robots to work on this queue item and how good your queue is working. Like out of this 100, how many transactions are properly working and how what is the duration for closing all these transactions. So based on that, you can scale up your robots. So hope you are clear about that. How an organization can track the usage of UiPath by different users. By using the audit logging feature in UiPath Orchestrator, audit information regarding the data used by activities in automation project is recorded in execution log at the information level in messages that begin with the audit. In addition, logs also contain an initiated by property that records where each project execution was initiated, assistant, Studio X, Studio or Orchestrator. This enable organization to keep track of how the tool are used. Okay, so if you go to tenant, here you will get one tab, okay, that is audit. So if you click on that, So this feature is nothing but audit trail for actions performed by orchestrator users. Okay, so which all users are having access to this particular audit, particular orchestrator, all the actions that is performed by the users will get tracked inside this uh, audit. Okay, and if you want to export this, I'm going to export this. Okay, it will download it like a log file, audit log.csv, and here you can see from my user I have created a create storage file share access and started a job at this particular time. So all these things are going to get track inside the audit. Okay, so your organization or your admin can properly monitor, okay, how your users are working, and how the tools are utilized. Okay, so so what are the components that you have used, like buckets, jobs, and all. So it will help you to monitor like how the tools are utilized for creating the automation, because for all these tools there will be some license cost, right? Even if you're going for Orchestrator or if you're going for UiPath Studio, there are some license costs. So if you're not properly utilizing these, it will not give you the proper result or the ROI for investing this license, right? So your management or the admin can monitor how well you're utilizing this tool for getting more valued RPA automations. Okay, so I hope you are clear about this. So in case in interviews, if your interviewer is asking like how you can utilize the usage of your UiPath by different users, or what are the different activities that is doing by different users in the UiPath, you can go to the audit log and just export that for getting the entire activities that is doing by the different users in the orchestrator. How you can troubleshoot the unattended process of other user account. When interactive authentication is enforced in UiPath Assistant, you can only see the process to which you have access, and only after signing into your account a user license is also required. Therefore, the unattended process which do not run under your account are not available in UiPath Assistant for troubleshooting. So if you need to debug an unattended process, you can temporarily enable a troubleshooting session. Doing this let you see and run the unattended process locally, okay, without requiring a user license. So I think I have already done a video on this particular configuration. So this is nothing but like in a folder, if you are creating some process, okay, and if you are not having the access to that particular process, and if you want to debug what the issue is happening to another user, okay, so another user is having access to that particular process, and while creating or while running that process there is some issues happening, and if you are another user and you don't have access to that process, but if you want to debug or if you want to troubleshoot the issue which is happening to that particular user, what you can do, you can ask for the troubleshooting session. So in UiPath it will give you some maximum of 2160 minutes as a troubleshooting session. Okay, that particular user can grant you that permission and you can debug the issue without going for a new license. For that, what you have to do is go to robots, unattended session. Here click on this setting and you need to enable this. Okay, so if you are enabling this means maximum of some, I think, yeah, 2160 minutes you can enable this, and up to this minute and another user can access to all the process that is available inside this account. Okay, so he can easily debug the issue. So this is one advanced feature by UiPath to troubleshoot the issues without compromising any of the security. Okay, the troubleshooting session is temporary and the above only applies while troubleshooting is active. Okay, so this will be active only while you enable this troubleshooting session, but if you disable this, the user cannot access the process which is configured under your account. Okay, so hope you are very much clear about all these 20 questions, and I hope you understood it clear cut details about all these configurations which I have done now, and you are very much clear about all these 20 features and the questions that we just discussed now. Okay, so what I'm requesting is just go to this orchestrator and UiPath Studio and try all these questions by yourself by doing some practicals, because it will give you more understanding, and if you're getting some errors, it will give you more idea like how you can troubleshoot these issues. Okay, so please try out all these things, because you will be getting questions related to all these things while if you're attending an interview, as well as while doing some automation process. You will have to check all these features. Okay, so if you have the clear cut understanding of all these features, it will help you to easily create the proper RPA automations. So please share this video to your friends, please like the video, please give your valuable comments, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. So thanks for watching the video. Bye.